listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. Before we get started, make sure you follow us on our social medias at Range Minded Podcast, or you can always send us an email, podcast@iishooting.com. This is episode 138, where we wrap up 2020 and talk about what's happened during this crazy year. Plus, we get into a little bit of a preview of what we think 2021 will bring. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy listening to episode 138 of Range Minded, the year 2020 in review. Hello and welcome to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. My name is Mark Long, and I am joined, as always, by...
Just in the nick of time, Steve Zimmerman.
Nice and warm.
Steve, You can't introduce me like that.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
See what you did there.
Yeah, Nick Hoffer here.
Yes, we're also joined by the famous Nick Hoffer as well.
He's always so piffy.
Well, you got me all worked up because I got all my hot water heater jokes out of the way before we started. So
these guys have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, why don't you tell them you had a great experience today? Completely not firearm related.
No, not yet. Anyways, so as I'm at church, I had to take care of some stuff afterwards, and I get a text with a picture from my daughter. I think there's something wrong with the water heater, and there's just water everywhere on the basement floor.
Oh no!
Oh, you didn't tell me that. I thought it just stopped working. I didn't realize that it flooded.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel bad for making the joke.
It didn't empty the tank completely, but it had definitely leaked like a lot. There was probably maybe a gallon, 2 gallons of water on the floor.
Oops.
And there's other rooms that adjoin where the furnace and water heater are. So I was a little frustrated, needless to say.
One way to say it.
Anyway, like I couldn't get to it until I was done, like 2 hours later with what I was supposed to be doing. And I go downstairs and look around for a little while. I'm still in my suit, so I can't really get too upset yet. I can't get into it. But as I'm looking, I see that the water heater has probably been leaking for a while because it's rusty at the bottom. Now, I've only had this water heater for like 2 years, maybe. And that was kind of made me even more upset.
Yeah, because those are supposed to last a good long while.
Yeah. And it was under warranty, but I knew if I tried to use the warranty, it would be forever before I just like, screw it.
Be 2022 by the time you got it.
I just went and bought another one, spent way too much money on another water heater. And then I don't need no stinking plumber. I put it in myself.
Did you have to sell an AR pistol to pay for that?
No, but I'm honestly thinking about selling one.
I think you could have traded probably 35 bullets, 9mm bullets for a hot water heater.
Yeah, I should have taken a box of 9 with me, huh?
Yeah, it would have been an even trade.
I saw online this week, you could have. They were like $1.03 a round.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I got an email about a sale for 9mm for 60 cents a round.
Was that from Tactical Shiz?
No, it was from. I think it was from. It was gun.deals, I think.
Oh, yeah, because Tactical Shit had some stuff for sale. Again, it was stuff I've never seen or heard of. And it was I think it was over $1 a round. It was just ridiculous.
Insane, man.
Looks like I'm done shooting for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to talk about, the dumpster fire that was 2020.
Well, the dumpster fire's not out yet. We still have a week.
Right, but I figure there's enough to talk about, I think, from the past year that we could fill some time.
Yeah, probably.
And just talk about, there's some good things, I think, and some obviously a lot of bad things, but there are some good things I think that we can feel happy about. Ammo is not one of them, but there are a lot of new gun owners, which is good.
I just like to reminisce back to January when I didn't know what was going to happen. Starting in February.
The naivete, yeah.
I want to say that life was normal back then, and I had no idea that the next 11 months were going to totally knock everyone off their feet.
And and just one thing after another.
Which it actually started with me being sick. Imagine that. I was
Really?
I was sick for 2 weeks in January when I got home from Vegas. And I didn't realize that was going to start off the entire world being sick for 10 months.
Yeah, or more.
So, yeah, that was a good start to the year, but who knew that we were going to go from what we thought was normal to locked in our houses for however long people were locked down, and then the craziness that has been this year. 19 million guns sold?
Yeah, no, that's just background checks. So over 19 million background checks being conducted. So you can have more than one firearm on a background check.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of people buying guns and a lot of new gun owners too, on top of that, which I would chalk up as a good thing.
Absolutely. I will say that last week we took an order for 12,000 holsters from one of our customers. So
damn, that's awesome.
They are predicting next year to be a good year because that was double their order from this year.
Holy smokes.
So the world is still going on, thankfully. And so hopefully that means that things will kind of even out, I guess. Right? Maybe? No? Yes?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not too optimistic about that for at least the next 12 months. I don't think that it's going to level out anytime soon.
I've heard rumors that in about 6 months things are going to calm down some, but that is just completely assuming that nothing else changes in the meantime, which we've been pretty good at predictions for at least the last quarter of 2020.
Yeah, unwittingly, but yeah.
And here's something that we don't ever talk about that's still up in the air. We still don't have a president for the next 4 years. So it could really depend on what happens in the next month as to when things level out.
Yeah, there's still going to be a lot of things going on, I guess you could say, in the next month before 2020 is out, and then the following month after that. But I don't know,
because I think that people aren't so much, even people like me or Steve, I don't know about you, Mark, but most of us are still not caught up in what's going to happen in the gun world, because we're still trying to figure out what's happening in the real world with who's going to be in charge. And I mean, the ATF's already out of control and they haven't even changed administrations. Like we have no idea what's going on yet.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because that's, I think, a new thing that hadn't happened since last time, because I think last time we talked about the whole Polymer 80 debacle, but there's been a couple more things happening since then, right?
Yeah, there has. So the ATF has, I guess they published it now. I first saw it on Military Arms Channel, did a Facebook Live or YouTube Live or something. He had gotten a hold of the letter before it went out somehow. Just discussing, excuse me, Reese's peanut butter cup. Just discussing what the intentions are of the ATF regarding pistols and pistol braces. And it's a long letter. I tried to read the entire thing. You can find it on Firearms Blog and probably AmmoLand and some of those other ones, but sure. It's a long descriptive letter. But basically what it says is the ATF is going to go case by case basis. They'll decide whether or not you violated any federal law and if your gun needs to be registered as an SBR, or short-barreled rifle. But they did say that if there'll be a grace period, you're welcome to have a free registration as an SBR, but they just need to know exactly what's on your gun.
Which is weird.
Nothing to fear here.
Exactly what's on your gun, as in like a pistol brace?
They want to know if it's got a brace, if it's got a vertical foregrip, or what you have as far as a foregrip on the firearm. And they said that, like I said, the violation, like if they find you in violation, it's done on a case-by-case basis.
So it's up to them what to decide.
One agent could say, look, that cack brace, that blade, you're fine. It's not easily adjusted. And then the other guy could say, well, look, if you had an extra Allen wrench, you could just pull this set screw out and move this back or forth. So yeah, you're in violation. So
yeah, there's seems a little arbitrary.
Nothing set in stone. Completely arbitrary.
So they're going to make you register it as an SBR, not a pistol.
An SBR. Yes.
So you might as well just get a butt stock.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing that I think there's a thing that also complicates this that maybe we haven't thought about is in some states you can't even own an SBR. Like Illinois, for example, you're not.
Yeah.
Unless you have a CNR license, you're really not allowed to own an SBR. And so but pistols are completely legal. So if you have, it's an illegal firearm basically at that point in states like that.
And the other thing they said too might make a difference is caliber. So maybe you have a PCC / pistol in 9 or 40 or 45, where it's a pistol caliber. Maybe that'll help you avoid violation of any made up federal laws. But
or 300 blackout. That's a pistol caliber. They're useless as a rifle.
Yeah, might as well be. And then what's really odd is in the letter too, it said that none of these violations carry any penalty under law, which is odd.
Then why is it a violation?
Violations after the fact or violations as of now before you register? Because why would you have to register if there's no penalty?
The way I understood it is even though they say this particular firearm, if it be a pistol or whatever, there's no penalty under federal law. So I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
So it's basically like when they decriminalize drugs in Oregon. There's $100 fine, but it's not against the law.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very confusing.
Well, but maybe maybe we could have free registration on SBRs then, and just maybe take the plunge that way. Maybe that's a little too optimistic, but
it sounds like a way to scare people into registering their guns.
That's what I think more, because, and maybe I don't know if you guys feel the same way. A registry is the first step to confiscation. Once they know what you have, then they know where to go to get it. Just
like when we talked about the Polymer 80 raid and them showing up at that guy's house in Nevada.
They have all the credit card records.
As soon as they had the information, they showed up and confiscated his gun.
Yeah, and we talked about it too. I'm sure that they were right there with him as he opened up his safe, and they said, "Well, we can come back with a warrant." Yeah, exactly.
Weird stuff, man.
It's pretty sketchy.
Well, and I mean, I guess it's different because pistol braces. There's not just one, manufacturer of pistol braces. There's a ton, and all different kinds. And it's like, if they're going to do it on a case by case basis, are they just going to reclassify them, or are they going to prohibit some of them? Because they already kind of went after SB Tactical with that stuff.
Yeah, but if you think about what SB did, like.
It was towing the line. Yeah, and Nick talked about that last time, where people
they were definitely close. Like the SBA 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's an adjustable arm brace that happens to be comfortable enough to shoot from the shoulder.
Sure.
So they were skirting the line. Just, same thing with the AR pistols. I know that's going to piss some people off, but seriously, like, it's just a way to have something that's as close to an SBR as possible, and maybe that is dancing right on the edge of the line.
Which is the same thing I said about the 80% firearms. We're
towing the line. You're going so close, and then.
And we did the same thing with bullet buttons in California. They've had to change them, I think, 3 times now because because as soon as they get to where you can manipulate them easily enough, then the state changes the law again.
It's like a game of cat and mouse almost, where it's like just back and forth all the time.
100%.
And I guess that's where the innovation of the firearms community is like trying to give as much freedom as possible. At least maybe that's what their feeling is about it. Without breaking any law, they want to be right there on the cusp of whatever guidelines they get. But honestly, in reality, the ATF has just gone way too far in reality.
And I'm not saying I agree with the laws against the stuff, but I'm saying when we push the limits, like bump stocks were a good example. Like, obviously, bump stocks were completely legal. It's something that we were doing before there was an actual product that helped in it.
Yeah.
But it was still mimicking the full auto fire, and that's why people enjoyed it. There was no benefit to it other than enjoyment.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it was towing that line to where it made the anti-gun people uncomfortable because they thought that it was full auto because that's what we were going after.
Yeah.
And so
Just
it
looked like
ended in us losing that because it became too popular.
Yeah. And I've said it before, bump stocks, like, I don't like bump stocks. I think they're stupid, honestly. They're not fun for me. Like, I've shot them. I don't really care for them. But I didn't feel like we needed to lose them either. But like
Right.
you're saying, it was just right there on the edge. And I got in this Facebook argument with this guy from California, and he's like, well, you just think everybody needs to carry. He's like, you can't buy a rocket launcher, grenade launcher. And I said, oh, actually, I can buy a tank. I can buy a grenade launcher. I almost bought a rocket launcher without the rockets. Like, you can buy that stuff, but it's expensive.
It's cost prohibitive. Yeah.
I think everybody should have a tank. Just because.
Why not? Like, I have a friend that used to work for Gemtech that was he was right there. Like, it was supposed to be shipped, and then some things in his life changed, and he had to go a different avenue, but he had one coming.
That's crazy.
Like,
in a good way.
Imagine how cheap your insurance would be on a tank. Like, there's nothing going to hurt that. Somebody runs into you at a stoplight in a tank. Oh, dude, I guess call your insurance because I'm good.
Yeah, you probably won't even notice.
Yeah.
Be a speed bump.
You drive away and there's a 6-car accident behind you and you're looking in the rear view camera and you're like, oh, I wonder what happened back there.
Sorry, didn't notice.
Unbeknownst to you, they smashed into the back of you at 20 miles an hour. Yeah,
you never know.
See, I think we should all own tanks. It would make people better drivers.
Well, and then one tank bumps into the other. There really is no accident.
Yeah.
Well, and then if you cut somebody in a tank off, like, I wouldn't want to get shot by a tank because I cut them off in traffic, so I would be extra cautious.
Well, to be sold in the United States, the guns are demilled. But it'd still be cool.
I think we should get active tanks.
I agree. I 100% agree.
I'm just saying
if you can afford it, then I don't see anything wrong with it.
I can. Now that you say that, I can see a big problem that would happen. It'd be only the rich can afford tanks.
Right. Yeah. Just like the rich can only afford armed security.
Yeah, because I work at McDonald's and I don't have the access to a tank because I don't have the money.
Then maybe at some point there'd be a tank subsidy and you could write it off on your taxes or something.
What was it? Cash for clunkers back in the day? How about cash for tanks?
We get a what is it?
Tokens for tanks.
Tokens for tanks.
A tank owner's tax credit.
Why not?
I should, because we're subsidizing the military too in case of an invasion. So if everyone owned a tank, the government wouldn't have to pay for maintenance.
Look at that. We would be saving billions of dollars.
Solving the world's problems right here.
I'm pretty sure that a new tank has got to be over $1 million.
It's probably you're 20 million.
Or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably in the 20 million.
Any of us could actually afford a new one. I mean, used Humvees are like 30, 40 grand.
Yeah. That stuff's expensive, but that's what I mean. Like, let the market decide what the prohibition is on it. Like, that I really did try to buy a rocket launcher that, I mean, I couldn't get rockets for it, but how cool would that be sitting on the man cave wall?
That would be cool.
Been freaking awesome.
Well, I think that's the thing is I think that people don't understand what you can and can't have, and they just assume or just don't realize it, and they're probably surprised to learn what you can and can't own.
Yeah.
So what's your guys' individual favorite thing about 2020?
That it's going to be over.
I think that's probably a pretty common answer, Steve. Good.
Yeah, that's a good
way to be normal.
Yeah, I think there's millions that will agree with you on that one.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say my favorite thing I think is just that we have all these new gun owners and all these people that have realized that they need to protect themselves, and take that protection into their own hands, and that that's going to lead to, I think, a lot more education and a lot more understanding about, the firearms world and how it works, and I think dispel a lot of myths that people have, At least that's my hope. But me, I'm foolishly optimistic. So
I think I think really what one of the things, and maybe this is too political, I think whether you like Trump or hate Trump, and honestly, there's things I like and hate about Trump. I think he did open a lot more people's eyes to the cabal that's really exists in the country on both sides of the aisle.
You took mine.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, mine was not going to be that specific, but yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, is how eye-opening 2020 has been on both sides of the aisle for people.
Yeah,
be it first time or new gun owners, or people who didn't recognize that there is corruption in the government, or people who didn't realize that there is the ability for control to be had over people who don't pay attention.
And I think that's really where the surge of firearms ownership came from. Like, I know and I understand that, well, they're worried about defunding the police and the riots and things that were, or peaceful protests, that were happening in some of these major cities.
95% peaceful, or 93, 93%
mostly.
Peaceful.
And I think that was probably a catalyst, but I think it really did open, people's eyes were open, like, well, there's some seriously messed up crap going on in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about life. And honestly, some of those gun owners might be worried about the crazy right wing guys that are just as vocal and outrageous.
Yeah. I think this year's election / surge in guns and ammo sales was more driven not necessarily by the fear of losing the guns, but the fear of actually needing the guns.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would say the McCluskeys, like that exemplified exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, like you said, Steve, I think that the gun buying and the ammo buying and all that, I think that doesn't know a political side. I think it happened on both sides, for a variety of different reasons. I think that's probably a good thing at the end of the day, because, you hear people talking about either defunding the police or about, that the police are not going to respond to an emergency situation at your house. That makes you really realize, and it doesn't matter what side of the, political spectrum you're on, or where you're at. It's, well, if they're not going to take care of me and my family or protect me and my family, then that it leaves it up to me. And I need the best tools to be able to do that no matter what. And I think that opened, like Nick said, I agree with Nick, that it opened up a lot of people's eyes that, I think that people are a lot more on their own and have to take more responsibility for their own life than they think. They can't depend on other people to do that, and that's no more.
Well, and there was a point this year where local governments said, don't call the police. If somebody breaks into your home or tries to rob you, comply with their wishes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was said to residents of cities. So when you hear that makes you well aware that the police aren't coming to save you at a certain point.
And I feel like we've known that for a long time. Like a lot of gun owners have.
Yeah, I think that we understand that, and even in normal times, whatever those are, we recognize that we're going to call the police. First option is going to be call the police. Yeah, first option is call the police, but they're probably not going to get there before the incident is over.
Well, what's the old adage? When seconds count, the police are minutes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I can't remember if it was in Detroit. I want to say it was in Michigan somewhere. The response time was like over 60 minutes.
That's a long time. And
I mean, let's put it in perspective. The average gunfight is like 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's pretty major.
Yeah,
so
it's insane.
I always tell people, and I have this discussion with pretty much new people to carrying a gun or owning a gun when they come into the shop. And it's look, a gun is our last resort. I've carried a gun for 15 years. I've never pointed a gun at another human being ever. My first option is always call 911.
Right.
But once I call 911, then my second option for defending my home is my firearm.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people, I've had discussions with a lot of people about, that the firearm is a last resort, life or death weapon, where it's like if somebody's breaking into your house and you have the opportunity, like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, first I'm going to call 911 and I'm going to try to actually get out of my house to try to like save, or get away from the danger and everything, but
or barricade yourself in the room while you're on the phone with the cops. I always tell people this. I'm like, turn on the lights.
Yeah.
Like, we have this huge stigma of these like tactical Timmies that think that they need to have all these flashlights and lasers and shit.
Because you're going to clear room by room. You're going to clear your house.
Well, I'm like, you live in the house, right? You live in the house? And they're like, yeah. And I go, so you know where the light switches are? You could probably walk to the bathroom and flip on the lights in a normal night, and know where the light switches are. So when I am thinking there's something scary in my home, I turn on the lights because I'm scared of monsters in the dark.
Right.
When the lights come on, I know what I'm dealing with. I'm not going to walk through my house with a flashlight.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless I go, okay, the power's out. God forbid. Now we got a situation. But in a normal, everyday life, I paid my power bill. I'm flipping on the lights.
Well, and especially now power. you can get smart lights, and you can program them from your phone and turn basically your whole, your whole house lights on from your phone, more or less. Yeah.
So I keep seeing this trend on TikTok. So that's my second favorite thing about 2020, TikTok. just before I miss that. I
haven't gotten there yet.
So I keep seeing this trend on TikTok where people turn their Alexa into a security alarm, and they convert every light bulb in their house to a smart bulb.
Oh yeah.
and they say, Alexa, intruder. And it sets off an alarm on the speaker, and then every light in the house turns red.
Or it starts playing Fortunate Son by Creedence, and
yeah,
I've seen that too. That's pretty funny.
Or the Purge intro or whatever that.
Right. Yeah. Well, actually, did you see that thing? I think it was on TikTok, cool. Where the guy actually had it was like Alexa intruder, and then he had something hooked up to his he had like what was it called? Like a hidden compartment in a dresser or an entertainment center or something where it
I need guns.
Alexa, I need guns, and it actually like came out from a hidden compartment, and that was pretty cool. It's a lot you can do with smart technology.
So when I said TikTok was my second favorite thing, I have, in the middle of a pandemic where you couldn't leave, I think that's what got a lot of people through the monotony of being home.
Sure.
And it has created, not that I'm a huge fan of the fact that it's Chinese owned and all that jazz, but it has created some of the most wealth in 2020 of anything in the world. That one app.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That guy over by Steve, Dogface420, is a multi-millionaire in the last 4 months because of TikTok for drinking cranberry juice
and skateboarding
and the longboard. Yeah.
And now he's living the life in California.
Toking it up with Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
Wow.
Not the life I want to live, because I want to not live in California. But for that dude, he's living his dream because he made a video to a 60-year-old song.
Good for him, man.
That also saw a resurgence.
Exactly. It had the most streams of history in October, but that video was taken when his truck broke down on the way to work, and he was skateboarding to work.
Wow.
So he went from living in a camper, truck broken down, to in the last 4 months has made millions of dollars. And
he got a new truck, didn't he, from somebody?
Yeah, Ocean Spray gave him a truck, and 2 weeks ago he just traded it in on another truck.
So dumb. Good on him, though. Good on him.
Oh, no, he's done commercials for Walmart. He's done commercials for Lux Longboards. He did one for some place that cooks meals for holidays that we all would know if I could remember the name. He's done commercials for gas stations in Idaho Falls. He did that thing with video with Snoop Dogg. He's in the Cheech and Chong video game. I
didn't even know there was a Cheech and Chong video game.
Yeah, there's a cell phone app game, and he's a character in it.
Well, so actually, it's speaking of TikTok though. Do they allow firearms related content? Now that I'm thinking about it, I've never asked you that question.
That they do not. I've been banned permanently for 3 of my emails.
Really?
Yes, and now my current account is restricted to only being able to view. I can't post anything.
Oh, that's asinine.
But their guidelines are extremely strict. They basically, and they updated their terms of service a couple weeks ago. It basically says it doesn't matter what you do. If we don't like it, we reserve the right to take any video we don't want down with no reasoning.
Yeah. Wow.
And their new terms of service basically says you can shake your ass on here and you can be a teenager, but that's it. That's all that's protected.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting, but it's still a good way to waste 45 minutes of your time if you're bored.
Yeah, I have to imagine so.
Craziness.
Craziness.
So that is definitely my second favorite thing that I found in 2020.
What a weird world we live in.
It's not the same as it was a year ago.
It's almost like somebody said that one time.
Steve, so what was your favorite? Besides it being over, what is your favorite part of 2020?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I did get to hang out more with Adam Boyce. I've been going do some weekly stuff with him every Monday night, which has been a lot of fun.
Sure.
That was on my, I don't know if you remember, that was part of my New Year's resolution is to train a lot more. And I guess it only took me almost the whole year to get going with it, but I'm there now.
Yeah. Better late than never, I suppose.
And I've met a lot of really, really good people, and I think good people to know from doing that with Adam.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And Adam Boyce is a celebrity now. He got a celebrity shout out you mentioned before we started today.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't gone back and listened to some of our older episodes, Adam Boyce is a friend of the podcast. He does edged weapons training through Martial Blade Concepts. His website is spartanmode.com.
Yep, you can find him at Spartan Mode on Instagram as well.
Yeah, and he's actually done quite a bit more stuff than I even knew about. We were talking about some stuff last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, stuff that, and maybe I guess I shouldn't have brought that up, but there's some stuff that I had no idea that he was doing that would have been on a national visible level.
He's a busy guy. You can just put it that way.
Yeah, and he's got Tops Knives makes one of his knives. There's another one of his knives coming out soon, and so he's got some stuff going. Anyway, besides that. And he's from Eastern Idaho, so he's one of my homies.
Yeah.
But Master Ken, if you guys know who Master Ken is, he shouted him out on Instagram on a video. Somehow he got a hold of some of Adam's content and decided that he was gonna make it better. It was kind of a funny video.
Well, and so I didn't know who Master Ken was before I actually watched the video. So if you don't,
really?
Yeah, I had no idea who that was, and I was like, wait, who the hell is this guy? And his first 10 seconds had me hooked, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is this guy talking about? And then from there, I was like, oh, I get it.
So
I thought he was being serious for a second.
I thought, I'm like, wait a minute. He's like, because he starts off by saying, well, Adam, you've got some good content, but you're doing this and not nearly enough of this. And I'm like, well, I think Adam would know more than anybody else, considering he is the edged weapons guy.
And Master Ken, he actually is a very capable martial artist. He's a very capable individual, but he's made his way into the funny Instagram stuff. He's got a lot of really funny videos.
Yeah.
And Adam even told me last week or 2 weeks ago, he's like, my goal is to be on one of Master Ken's episodes. He's got a weekly episode too. And I think that's going to be closer than farther away now.
Yeah, seriously.
It's pretty funny. If you guys don't know who Master Ken is, just jump on Instagram or YouTube and look him up. Some of his stuff is very funny.
Very, very funny.
I think it's funny.
I agree. I think it's hilarious. But I was like, wait a minute. It really threw me off at first to be like, this guy's telling Adam Boyce what to do about edged weapons, and where Adam has dedicated his life to that. But it's pretty funny. So if you can get it, check out Spartan Mode on Instagram too, because Adam posted the video as well. So
Yeah, it's out there, and just prepare to laugh. I think it's funny, anyways.
Yeah. Well, what do you? I mean, so let's flip the script then. What do you think is the worst part of 2020, just in general?
I think we already touched on that too. I think there's a lot of new light on how crappy our government has been over the last few years, and it's really disappointing because a lot of our friends have fought to keep this country free, and some of that just seems kind of for naught. I don't want to make it sound like a Debbie Downer and everything's so negative, but it's just unfortunate some of the stuff we've been seeing over the last few weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of been kicked into high gear the last couple of weeks, almost like, and it's weird to see that all that action happening so fast.
Yeah. And regardless, Biden, he's the projected president, right? So either way, we have to accept that he's the president. Once it happens, that's fine, and I'm okay with that. But I'm just kind of disappointed with how childish politicians are when they're supposed to be the pinnacle of society and those that we really trust with our freedom. And obviously, they're incapable of doing many things.
I think my most frustrating part about that is that it's childish on both sides.
Yes.
And to the point where not only has media and one side tried to deflect blame before it's even there to be had. Like they're all pre-gaming the blame game.
Yeah. And I think another thing I'm really disappointed is just, we were just talking about TikTok and how some of these platforms who claim to be all about free speech and such really squelch people who like the content that we like, firearms and training and ammunition.
They do a great job of making people feel like the firearms and content that way are bad like they're bad things.
Yeah.
Well, and that really has been in the cards for many, many years. I think it was one of Obama's one of his staffers that said that they're going to make firearms as disgusting as cigarettes. And if you think about the campaign, maybe you guys aren't old enough to remember what it was like when cigarettes were still sold in vending machines. I remember that. And then suddenly you see how all these negative ads everywhere, you saw negative ads about cigarettes. And I'm not saying cigarettes are good, but they're using that same pattern with firearms to make everything bad. Like a kid chewing a stupid Pop-Tart in the shape of a gun and gets expelled from school. I mean, they're making everything as evil as possible at firearms, and that's the problem. Like, we know that the guns aren't inherently evil and they don't make people want to shoot up nightclubs or whatever. It's bad people do bad things no matter what tools are in their hands. But the media, and I mean all the media, has been very active about putting negative spin on firearms ownership and usage.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to see how intense it's gotten on social media. Like
it does feel amplified.
Yeah.
Well, people get all riled up and then they type. I mean, not to put you in a box, Steve, but I mean, you're the king of getting into Facebook arguments when you want to. And then people read stuff and
stupid people.
I understand. I'm totally with you, but I just, people get all amped up about it, and then they get upset and start typing stuff, and it's just people get really upset and passionate about it, and it's good to have passion, but at the same time, it's just people get it just makes people even more angry, and
If anybody wants to look it up, they can go on the Idaho News Channel 6 Facebook page and see 3 words that I said that spawned 200 comments.
Oh boy. You're going to have to tell me what those words were now.
I can't even remember exactly what they were. I just agreed with something to do with the vaccine. Oh, it was. I called out Channel 6 for only giving half of a story. I said thanks for half the story. And everybody was like, "Well, what's the rest? Can you tell us the rest?" And I had literally like 200 moms like on my ass about saying something bad against News Channel 6.
Wow.
How dare you?
But I'm really good at that too, though, Steve. I go in there just to read the comments, and it's like 50-50. Either they're all agree with me or they all disagree with me.
Yeah. that's really what's truly frustrating about any social media is the lack of ability to have a conversation.
Or compromise and say, yeah, you don't agree with me, but I can see things from your point of view.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be wrong.
Sure.
Even when they are wrong. And that's, I guess, even outside of social media. A lot of kids nowadays are just being told what to think and not how to think anymore. And so they just regurgitate stuff that they hear or see on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever without any validation, but they're so passionate about it that they believe it's right.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that.
So then as gun owners, I guess, what do you think we can do to help, change that and change the thoughts and feelings about firearms to people? Is there anything we can do on on social media or other places?
I think it's difficult on social media because of the restrictions of content. But if we can get out and we've talked about it all the time, Mark, and maybe this summer we finally just have to do it. It'd be a little tougher this year. It was, but we need to get out and face to face with people and have real conversations and invite people out shooting that have never done it before. I think that's a winning calculation, is taking somebody that's willing to go to the range and actually squeeze off a few rounds.
I've never taken anyone to the range and took them shooting and not had them have a good time.
Right.
Of the people I've helped people from other countries that have never ever touched guns before and were extremely apprehensive, but because they were visiting the United States, they wanted to do what Americans do, and they see over there that Americans just shoot guns and that's it all the time, and so they would come to the range and honestly, I like those interactions because it teaches them, hey, this isn't as bad as what we thought it was.
I have a friend in England, and he's coming over here next year, and he begged me to take him to the range, and he had a list of guns that he wants to shoot.
Well, make sure that we know when, because we've already done a few episodes like that. It's okay to do some more.
Yeah, we had. We've had all kinds of people.
List are on the wall at the range, so.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to find maybe more people that haven't shot before and take them shooting and get their before and afters. I think we've done that quite a few times, and I think that's affected a lot of people in a good way and really shown that firearms aren't necessarily anything to be afraid of, and that they can be used for positive things and in certain situations, and they're a tool just like anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's what, not just us as a podcast or firearms owners, but everybody that's involved in any way with firearms, whether you're an owner or whether you're a member of the NRA or whatever, is get out and talk to people and let everybody know that firearms owners aren't these freaks of nature that walk around with shamogs and AR-15s downtown just to cause problems.
Right.
But just remember, as firearms owners, and I've said this before on the show, we can't alienate people who disagree with us, because the surefire way to get somebody who was on the fence or didn't align with our way of thinking, to get them to disagree and hate what we're about, is to attack them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That definitely is not the answer. And I think really going into an argument with a little bit of understanding and knowledge is always better as well. Argument will get you nowhere. Like you're saying, Nick, that's not going to work. But if we actually go with statistics that we can say, oh, look, this is the FBI crime report shows that, out of the 30,000 deaths, 60% of those are suicides. In reality, there's only about 2,000 or 3,000 deaths nefariously with firearms a year.
Right.
And then show them the data. I mean, that's totally a different argument. Instead of saying, oh, they kill 60,000 people every year, and there's always a school shooting, and they're done by AR-15s, and that's it.
Yeah, you can take the time to unpack that a little bit and really figure out what's going on.
But it doesn't work unless you do your homework. That's really what it boils down to.
Sure. Well, and I think people agree on things a lot more than they disagree on things. Maybe,
Yeah.
Because I think everybody wants their family to be safe. I think everybody wants to live in a safe environment. They don't want to have to, worry about their safety, and that's just the matter of kind of how that goes about happening, and that there are multiple ways to do that,
Yeah. Well, of the three of us that carry, how many of us want to get into a gunfight?
0.
Not me.
None of us. So
I actually was telling this to a lady on Friday that was in the shop. I had just met her at a networking event I hosted, and she came into the shop and she was buying a holster for her husband, but she doesn't like guns. And when I told her that, like, the last thing I ever want to do is draw a gun, she was like in awe that was my outlook. And she was just moving to Idaho from some other state. I can't remember where, but they only have concealed carry. So she was all excited about open carry. And I was like, none of us open carry. And she was like, why? And I said, because I don't want anyone to know I have a gun.
Yeah, you become a target that way in some ways.
I was like that, and I don't want to answer questions about it, and I don't want to make people uncomfortable. And I said, that's my business. It's no one else's.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of the considerate about being like kind of a considerate, concealed carrier as well, I would say, where it's not, just because you can doesn't mean you need to make people feel uncomfortable about it. And we've talked about that with, people who go to the grocery store with ARs slung over their backs,
I think that's courteous in any aspect. I mean, no matter what it is that you do, like I like to say the F word when I talk, but when I'm around new people or women or children or older people, I try to be respectful and don't do that. It's not because like I'm just trying to be respectful. Same thing with carrying a gun. Like, I know there's some people who don't agree, and instead of putting it out there to get in an argument with them and trying to shove it in their face, I just keep it to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it comes up, I can talk about it and educate people on it. Same thing with whatever cell phone I have. Like, I don't intentionally get in an argument with Steve because he doesn't have an iPhone.
Well, I do have an iPhone.
Well, you're lucky. Otherwise, I would tell you how bad you were for not having an iPhone.
Well, it's because I want my phone to work, so I have an iPhone.
And that they should outlaw Android.
We're going to get into an argument now. People are going to start typing in the comments now. So,
I can't believe you would say such a thing.
Let's do this. Let's maybe we'll do a full episode on this. But what is your top prediction for 2021 in the world of firearms?
Wow, boy.
Steve,
my top prediction.
Or just the first one that comes to mind.
My top prediction is we as gun owners are going to be alienated even more. And that's why I think we had this last discussion. I think that's why it's so important to show how normal we really are. Because I think we're going to be really put in a box of weird and violent and unpleasant people.
Yes. So for me, I think that my top prediction is going to be that the firearms industry itself is going to go a little crazy for the next few months and be on edge. And it's just going to be unpredictable for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some challenges, and I don't think it's going to change for the better anytime soon, unfortunately. But on the other hand, I think other people, I think more people are still going to try to buy guns because they realize that they need them, or that they realize they can't get them off the internet or whatever. And so unfortunately, that's going to make the ammo shortage and the firearm shortage, continue into 2021.
Yeah, I think it will be a record-breaking year for firearm sales and transfers.
Sure.
I think... But I think that's a positive in the long run.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about record firearm sales, and you know what? I'll take the hit for the next year or so on ammo, because I think that the more firearms that, especially new firearms owners that get out there, the less likely this is to happen in 4 years from now again.
Yeah, I just wish I could shoot more. That's all.
Oh, me too.
That's the big thing for me, is I wish that I could shoot more.
Yeah, well, I think that it's just something that in the short term, we're going to have to find alternative ways to train and just kind of take the hit, because, I mean, new gun owners is what we always want. And then as soon as we get a big surge in it, we're mad because new people are coming into the industry. Well, we need to recognize that this is what we've asked for, but we're just getting it in an inopportune time for the rest of us.
Yeah, I think that's something smart to keep in mind as we go along here into 2021. So, but I think that's Oh, go ahead.
We shouldn't be selfish with our rights.
Well, because like you said, Steve, it'll be better in the long run.
Yep.
So, well,
100%.
I think that'll call it for now. I think that's enough for 2020. Maybe we'll do an episode.
Goodbye, 2020.
We'll do an episode on our predictions and goals and resolutions for 2021. We've done that a couple times as we've done the New Year's. So,
never with Nick.
But never with Nick. So that'll be
never with me.
It'll be new and exciting. And
I'm a little sad that I don't get to go to Vegas next month.
I'm kind of bummed. Like I'm pissed.
Yeah.
But hey, they have a virtual show this year.
That sounds horrible. I don't even like that we have to do the radio show remotely, and it's not even because of COVID.
Yeah,
and I don't go to SHOT Show to really look at the booths. I go to the SHOT Show for the experience.
Yeah, it's the people I imagine.
Go to Vegas.
And I would just like to go to SHOT Show once. That would be great.
Well, 2022, baby, 2022.
Yeah. So, well, if you want to share anything with us about 2020, let us know. Podcast at iishooting.com or Facebook and Instagram at Range Minded Podcast, and we'll do our best to respond and maybe post it on our own social media as well. So, yeah, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time.
All right, be safe. Take somebody shooting.
Please take somebody shooting.
Merry Christmas.
Yep. See ya.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas.
That too. See ya.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. Find us online at Range Minded Podcast on Facebook, or send us an email at podcast@iishooting.com. We're always happy to get feedback, episode suggestions, whatever you want to send us, really. And be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much wherever else you get your podcasts from. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.